The search airship Falcon 900 from the Marine Security Department of Japan received an SOS signal from the balloon. It was located flying at a speed of 7,000 per hour with an altitude of 2,500 meters over the Pacific Ocean, close to Kinka Mountain in Miyagi. On the 25th of November, at 8:30, the search airship spent 3 hours looking for him. And they found him, at an altitude of 3,200 meters high, waving after turning off the SOS signal. The airship aborted the mission and came back to the base. The question that invaded our heads at the moment was if the SOS signal was just a way to say that everything was okay and he was fine, or if he actually wanted help. Either way, when I saw the news, I felt relief just knowing that they had found him and he was alive. My daughters, on the other hand, laughed and said, "He's still there? We thought he was already on the States by now." From that day on, the news about him on the TV, newspapers, and magazines increased as well as the news about us. And for the first time, we realized how big this event was. In some TV shows, analysts and hosts argued and shared opinions about my husband. Despite all of them, we believed in his vitality, physical and mental strength. Even though I didn't like to hear the news, the fact was that since that the ship found him and aborted the rescue mission, that I didn't receive any other news from him. So I started to search for news with different time zones so that I could have bigger probabilities of finding something about him. Who knows, maybe he was already in the United States. But bit by bit, I got tired. I started to sleep less and less, and as well as eating. I was putting all the energy that I had left in hope. In the meantime, the news got bigger and bigger. Some talked with concern and wondered if he was still alive. Others asked that we prayed for this dream that men have of taking off from earth and visiting the heavens. Others said that this was not an adventure, but rather a great recklessness. I went to the Marine Security Department asking for information. They said that they asked for all kinds of information on the matter to the United States, Canada, and even Russia. That gave me a little hope for a minute, but the time kept passing and nothing, no trace of him. Many were the magazines that tried to reach me for interviews, but I didn't have any strength for the media. My daughters wanted me to talk. They believed that he was alive, living maybe in someplace else. They were so confident about it that they wanted to leave the hotel and come back home so that we could wait for him there, despite all the journalists. 2 weeks after his departure, we eventually came back home. And my daughters accepted an interview for one of the magazines. They wanted to do it since I didn't have any strength to talk. They shared a little bit of everything, since my first date with him to his passion for the balloons. To speak the truth, since he was a little kid that he always wanted to fly with balloons, and even as an adult, his dream prevailed inside of him. They also told everything that happened from the day before until the takeoff of the balloon. At the end of the interview, I recall them saying, "Our mother loved our father's heart. She said that if he ever died, he would appear in our dreams." In Japan, we have a saying, "Yume makure ni tatsu." That means stand on a dream pillow. This means that when someone passes away, they appeared in the dreams of their relatives. And because until today we never dreamed of him, we still believe that he's alive. Maybe in some desert island, who knows? In the year after, 1993, we still were in the dark without any information about him. It was in that year that I gave my first interview. I told him the story of when I went to the movies with him while he was preparing this adventure. The movie was called Le Grand Bleu and talked about a man who lived in the sea and a woman who lived in love. He was a diver, used to swim into the deepest parts of the ocean, always tied to a safety rope. He used also a machine that allowed him to reach very deep and dangerous depths. At the end, the diver wishes to go deeper, trusting the safety rope to his girlfriend. She says, "Here's the end of my love," and releases the rope. I identify so much with the girl from the movie that I left the theater crying. He got worried, and I said that I didn't want to be the one opposed to his dream because I believed in him and his authenticity. After this interview, many others came, and with much more difficult questions. One of them asked me why I never tried to convince him to stop this adventure. I said that I didn't want to be the one stopping my love from doing what he believed, especially with the goal of making the world a better place. Let me do this. It's the last thing that I ask you for. This was a sentence that I repeated the most in my head. It was hard to say that I wanted him to stay. So I ended up never telling him. But at the same time, I tried my best to show him that I didn't want him to go. And every day was a conflict day. 2 years had passed, 3, 4, and every time autumn came, so did the journalists with more questions and more interviews. It didn't matter what they say. I always answered the same. I believe my husband will come back alive. My daughters never thought that they would never see him again. They believed in him, with maybe a strength that I never ended up feeling myself with such intensity. I have been through a lot, but one thing I can say for sure. Him and I were and are united by the soul. Because of that, I can believe inside my heart, no matter what some might say. I can never know what might happen here and now or in the future, but I will always keep on believing. His voice tells me about beauty. From the sunrise, we admire together the feeling of happiness.